Staying on the road would become a priority for many in the wintry conditions the following day. Robert Kubica set 3 fastest times on Friday, but would then go off the road on stage 8. And in the same stage, Chris Meek lost control on the ice, and the resulting impact ripped apart his suspension. The Northern Irishman tried to continue, but it would be in vain. And worse was to follow. Citroen's leading man, Loeb, suffered a similar fate on the snow. His hopes of an 8th Monty win were over, and while Seb finished the stage, he would retire in the road section. Oyt Tanak's run in 4th came to a dramatic end on stage 10. Well off the road, but the efforts of a group of nearby spectators somehow enabled the M-Sport man to haul the Fiesta back on the stage. Chris Meek, on only his 2nd snow rally, found himself in a promising 5th place until 2 high-speed mistakes saw him drop down the leaderboard.
Easy, Chris.
Coming into stage 9, early leader Sébastien Ogier found himself less than 3 seconds ahead of his teammate Jari-Matti Latvala. But even the world champion wasn't immune to Sweden's infamous snowbanks, this incident costing over half a minute. Latvala wasn't to know it, but he was on course to take over the lead. But later in the same stage, the Finn was off the road too. Eight minutes would be lost, and his hopes of a 4th Sweden win a distant memory. The second day started with an icy off-road excursion for Henning Solberg, the Ford privateer getting his lines all wrong, and he slipped from 9th to 19th. On the last day, Mads Osberg's dwindling hopes of catching the podium places were ended by this trip off-piste in stage 19. A broken handbrake, the guilty party. And high drama on the final stage. Andreas Mikkelsen clipping a snowbank, fighting to hold on to a slender lead. Dreams turning to despair in an instant. It would have been Mikkelsen's first ever win in the WRC. It was a heartbreaking moment for everyone in his team. Mikkelsen slipped to 3rd, Ogier in 2nd, found out at the end that he won. The first gravel event of the season witnessed one of the most dramatic incidents seen for years, with broken suspension causing a terrifying roll into a lake for Oyt Tanak. The Estonian and co-driver Raigo Mulder scrambling for safety. The incident seen from the onboard camera, even more frightening. With Oyt's car sinking without a trace, he and Raigo were thankfully just shaken and soggy. And Tanak wasn't the only victim on a bruising opening day. Chris Meek too fast into a sweeping left-hander, and the damage caused to his DS3 would prove terminal. With the Northern Irishman desperate for a good result, it would mean more soul-searching for the luckless Citroen man. Thierry Neuville, meanwhile, had been running in a strong 2nd until the Belgian 2 came unstuck just a kilometre before the end of stage 8. The saga dubbed the raising of the Thai Tanak continued into the second day, with the Estonian's Fiesta raised from the murky depths. And despite being submerged for most of the day, in just under 3 hours, the M-Sport team had the car repaired. Jari-Matti Latvala, meanwhile, had been steadily chipping away at his teammate and rally leader's advantage, only to throw it away after clipping a bank in stage 12. With the left rear suspension destroyed, so were his hopes of fighting for a first win of 20. It was brutal. Ogier's teammate Andreas Mikkelsen was also in the wars. A misheard pace note caused a heavy impact, initially causing a puncture, but eventually suspension failure would mean retirement soon afterwards for the Norwegian too. The end of rally power stage, Andreas Mikkelsen clipped a rock in spectacular fashion. Chris Meek had been in good form following his first WRC victory in Argentina recently, but his fine run would come to an abrupt end as early as stage 2.
Oh, Jesus.
Drifting wide at the right-hander would be a very sudden and very dramatic end to his first day. There was early promise for Robert Kubica, but the Pole's brief run to 6th would be ended by an unforgiving stone wall in the following test. Padden had led the rally for 15 stages, but the pressure would finally tell with the end of the day in sight. First, a spin lost him the lead, but with a broken gearbox following soon after, the New Zealander would be relieved to make it to the end of the day in second. But while all more drama on the final morning with a small error for third place Mads Osberg, an impact smashed a brake disc and the Norwegian slipped from 3rd to 5th. Thierry Neuville's recent lack of form took another turn for the worse, and this time it was a mistake before the rally had even begun. This heavy accident in the pre-event shakedown stage, meaning a busy build-up to the rally for the Hyundai mechanics. Finland's relentlessly quick stages never failed to provide spectacular drama, and this year would be no different. Elfyn Evans drifting wide and breaking his suspension on the roadside boulder. With no service on Friday, the Welshman would steadily slip down the order. At least Evans was able to continue. It was more than could be said for Andreas Mikkelsen and Hayden Padden, who both suffered spectacular rolls into the trees on day 1. Out front, though, as expected, and the drama would continue into the second day. Danny Sordo was beginning to show impressive commitment in his pursuit of his teammate Neuville, but the Spaniard's hopes of catching him would come to an end in the afternoon loop, with Sordo sliding off the road and into a ditch. Chris Meek, meanwhile, was looking safe in 3rd and holding off the advantage of his teammate Osberg until the rain came in stage 16. Sliding off the road and colliding with a tree, the damage caused to a wheel meant his wretched run continued. Robert Kubica was already driving under the Rally 2 restart rules after technical problems on Friday. On the final stage of Saturday, the Pole would make an even more spectacular exit. Taking no prisoners, and the latest visit would prove no different. Tanak in trouble as early as stage 1. Unfortunate to survive this heavy impact with a barrier. Martin Prokop has a good record on tarmac, but it couldn't prevent a nightmare run through stage 6. This heavy impact with a tree was followed by 2 further high-speed incidents. Robert Kubica has started the event with a 5-minute time penalty after an enforced pre-event engine change, but worse was to come on the first afternoon. The Pole finishing the day with no windscreen and a face full of dead flies. Below. The drama continued into day 2, and moving into the famous Panzerplatte stage, Kubica discovered just how unforgiving the tant-stopping Hinkelsteins can be. Elfyn Evans too was out of sorts on day 1. A spin and a puncture on the opening morning saw the Welshman slip further adrift. And the bewildered Evans was still having a torrid time down under. Uncomfortable all day, the Welshman had a remarkable escape in the darkness of stage 12.
Turn around, you need to turn around, yeah. But so lucky was Thierry Neuville, who smashed his Hyundai i20 into a wall just a few hundred metres into the opening stage, bringing his day to an early end. Hot, dry conditions greeted the drivers on Sunday morning, but it would not be a sunny end for Kevin Abbring. He crashed on stage 8, throwing away an almost certain 5th place finish.
The event's first full day would feature 8 gravel stages, but Italian privateer Lorenzo Bertelli was in trouble early on the tricky Spanish mountain roads. Tanak started Saturday in 3rd after a storming run on the Spanish gravel. In his efforts to hold on to the position, though, he would make one critical error. The Fiesta crushed, as were his hopes of a podium finish. And more bad news would follow for M Sport 2 stages later. Elvin Evans slipping off the road from 9th place. The British team's dwindling hopes of finishing second in the Manufacturers' Championship looked to be over. But we would witness one of the most dramatic finishes of the season on the Catalan tarmac. Sébastien Ogier with a lead of almost 50 seconds, dramatically crashing out within sight of the finish line. And Mikkelsen would soon discover he'd been gifted a first ever WRC win.
Ogier's just crashed in the power stage. You could win this. Really? Ogier has crashed in the power stage. You are the winner. You have won your first ever World Rally.
This is bizarre! This is a bizarre!
It had been a dramatic weekend from start to finish, but after Ogier's rare and sudden error, a moment to savour for Mikkelsen and Olaf to follow.
But one man who couldn't do that was his Volkswagen teammate Jari Matti Latvala. The Finn went off the road in bizarre fashion on stage 2, and with his Polo well and truly wedged, his day and his challenge was over. His teammate Mads Osberg was also going well. That was until he went off the road and dropped down into a ditch on stage 11. He lost well over 1 minute and 40 seconds in the recovery. This off on stage 11 brought the Belgium's weekend to a bruising end.